Stick around for this episode of the Tunepact podcast where we'll be talking about struggles in mental health with Jennifer Alvarado.
Hey, it's Jennifer. Stick around.
Welcome to the Tunepact podcast. I'm your host, the punk rock pop, Lee Pierce. And today our guest is Jennifer Alvarado. Jennifer, thank you for coming. How are you doing today?
I am great, Lee. Thanks for having me on.
So could tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been in the music industry?
So I would say full time since about mid 2021. And before that, I was doing like a lot of just little small things here and there. I've been writing songs since I was really little, and then got involved with all the normal things of school and choir and all that kind of stuff, and really got heavily involved with Christian music and church, and did that as a worship leader and eventually a worship pastor for several years. And then, of course, 2020 happened, and you kind of at least I reevaluated everything that was going on in my life at that point, and felt like, I've never really given my stuff a fair shot. I had released a little bit of the Christian stuff, but never kind of put any energy behind it, and felt like, okay, I don't want to see what happens, and if anything would happen as far as health or whatever, and then be like, I never tried. So that's big on my to-do list, is to at least try something, even if it means failing miserably, but gotta try it.
Was it like, well, obviously you said you did music back in school, writing songs as a kid and doing choir, and then you used the church, well, or you didn't use the church, but the church helped kind of another stepping stone in
Yeah.
developing that talent and that love for that.
Mhm.
What was it like, kind of the realization of like, I kind of got to do more with it? How did that hit you?
Honestly, it was sort of this internal struggle, because I think at least for me, I can only speak for me, but when I was doing it as worship leading, even when I had released my first project, which was completely contemporary Christian, I was writing with a church for different worship projects. Um, it was kind of this duality of, okay, I know I need to promote it, but I don't want people to think I'm trying to promote myself in the process. And so I think I held back everything that I was doing, because I never wanted people to think I was trying to put myself up on a platform versus the reason I was actually there. And so I think for me it was important to kind of break away from that and start doing doing the country thing, and releasing those songs, because first off, that had been such a big part of my life growing up, and writing and my style and all of that. Um, but then two, it allowed me to kind of have this other platform that could be about what I'm doing, and then have this over here where I'm the worship leader, and I can focus on that. So for me, it was just this internal struggle that was kind of like, okay, I've got to make peace with myself in the process.
Well, yeah, because you have the church is such an important part of your life, and then it
Yes.
helps you develop this love for the music. And
Yeah.
as a worship leader, you don't want the music to be like it's an advertisement for the church either, because that's going to turn some people off inside and outside of the church. So trying to find that balance between the two, that couldn't have been easy, and it's really great to see that you navigated that as well as you did. Congratulations. It's not easy to when you have something that gets you to where you are, then try to like whoop and step away from it while still being a part of that.
Right.
Was there any kind of what'd you get for feedback from the people around you when you were doing that? Was some help or hinder? We all get both sometimes.
I think you're always going to have people that are like, "What are you doing?" And they question, and some of it, honestly, I realized came from a point of, and I don't want to say this like harshly, but sometimes it comes from a place of jealousy, and the standpoint of like, maybe that person wanted to do the same thing and they didn't know how to navigate it, or they never let themselves navigate it. I think that's a big thing, is sometimes we just never let ourselves go after that dream, or take that opportunity, and we come at other people harshly for that. I know I've had that in my own life. I've looked at people and some of what they're doing, and I'm like, it comes from a place of like, I wish I could do that, but you judge it even more harshly in that moment. And so, yes, you're always going to have those people. But for the most part, I found overwhelming support for what I was doing, and a lot of people saying, you know, you give us motivation. You've helped us to kind of want to live out things and try things. And so that to me was awesome and very unexpected, because I kind of catastrophize things. It's my personality. People see things half full or half empty. I'm that half empty, and I've tried very hard over the years to kind of get away from that. But I think because I am a perfectionist, I look at things and I'm like, what's the worst possible scenario that could happen? And let's work from that. And so I've had to get away from that and realize that for the most part, people are helpful and people are supportive and want to be there for you and want to see you succeed. Um, at least that's been my experience. And so I'm very happy for that. I'm very grateful for that.
Like you said, I think a lot of the negativity comes out of definitely out of jealousy, but also out of like, well, fear too, because
Fear.
they are
Yeah,
too scared to do it.
correct.
I mean, I
Yes.
think that's where most negativity and hatred comes from in the entire world, not just this,
Oh, yeah.
is fear,
Most definitely.
100%. And so you said you had to kind of reevaluate some stuff, and that's kind of what really helped you
Mhm.
push in, well, about 2021, I think you said.
Yes.
What were some struggles that you were dealing with that you're able to get through?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think for me, I mean, anxiety and fear has always been part of my life. I've always been a very anxious person. Um, Growing up, 11, 12 years old, I started dealing with a lot of anxiety. Before then, I had been doing solos and singing out, and just never had any thought about it. It was fun. It was what I was doing. And, I would go out and not think twice about it. And then I remember after my grandmother passed away when I was 10, she was kind of my buffer to, I think, so much stuff. And so when she passed away, it was sort of like the world, my eyes opened to the world. And so from middle school on through even high school, I had a lot of fear. And I would get up to do solos, and I would go, I'd try out for things. And that perfectionism and that thought of like, if you mess up one note, it's all going to be over. Like the catastrophization of everything. Um, it stopped me from so much. And finally, I found a voice teacher that was like, just sing the song. Like, just sing. It's that simple. And it sounds ridiculous, but at the same time, that's what I needed. I needed somebody to just be like, just do it. Like, stop with all the
What's the worst that can happen,
yeah.
but we can't get through that in our own mind, especially. I feel the anxiety. I'm
Oh
still
yeah.
I'm pushing 50. I got a grandson, and there's still times I have no idea why. Like, even doing this podcast, I'll
Yeah.
sit down to do it and my heart is just
Yeah.
pounding,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm nervous and I'm scared, and I don't know where it comes from, but I totally get that. And like you said, when you have someone that helps you become the person you are, when all of a sudden you don't have them as that buffer, and
Yeah.
everything seems different now, even though nothing has changed, you just seen it through different eyes
You
now,
do.
and trying to get through that is just, it's not easy in any aspect, not just with music or anything. Just finding that first step, and like you said, having a vocal coach say, just freaking sing it. What's
Yes.
Just
And
do it.
that's what
What?
she said. She was like, just sing the damn song. Like, and we would have fights in the room, and she would just be like, just sing, just sing. That's all you gotta do. And yeah, it that helped me tremendously. But that was a huge, huge thing. Just the anxiety and wanting to be perfect. And the fact is, you're gonna fail every time if you're striving for perfection. And I had to get past that. I had to find the joy because I think that was the biggest thing. I remember being little, like before my grandmother died, and we would sit in her living room and we'd be singing songs, and like there was just such joy in that. And I think for a long time I lost the joy of music, and that's a horrible place to be. But like when you learn to enjoy it again, and just be, and just sit down with it, and know that it's part of you, like it's such a release and a freedom. And I think that's what I had to find again.
So, do you feel that it was sharing those struggles and sharing that, and actually being open about that anxiety and the struggles you're going through that helped you get over it?
Yeah, so I started helping with a Celebrate Recovery ministry. Oh gosh, probably 15 years ago, and I was actually the worship leader for it for like well over 10 years, and I still help some. And one thing that happens in Celebrate Recovery, it's like AA or NA, but it's based around the 12 principle, like biblical principles. And one thing that I learned was every other week somebody would get up and tell a testimony of how they kind of came out of that struggle, because it's not just substance abuse, it's anxiety, it's codependency, it's all these things. And so I think seeing them talk about it, because when you talk about your struggles, when you put them in the light, like it takes away its power over you. And so I'm a huge believer in telling your story, telling the good, the bad, the ugly, because you don't know what that is going to do for somebody else. Somebody could be going through the exact same thing or something kind of related or not at all. But just seeing that there is another side to it, that you can get through it, and that other people have gone through similar things, it gives people the power, and it kind of gives them, the power back of saying, this is not going to control me. And so that was a huge thing for me. And I think that that's why I feel like telling your testimony, telling your struggles is so important, because you don't know what that's going to do for somebody else.
Well, you hit the nail on the head too. I think a lot of that, even whether it's anxiety or it is addiction or anything like that, because I've 9 years sober myself, so they're part of that. Even if it's just anxiety or anything you're struggling with, there's a shame to it. I
There,
don't know why, but we do. It's a personal thing, and when you talk about it, it takes that away. It
yes.
gets rid of that shame, because you could live in shame over something that's not even bad and just destroy yourself. I mean, I've seen great people just turn into nothing because of something that if they could have just talked about it. But I understand how hard that is too. But yeah, I think you really you're right though. It's when you talk about that, it takes some of the power away from it.
Yeah.
And it makes it, and well, then, like you said, though, you get to hear from other people. So, and you're like, hey, yeah, that's exactly what I would. Or it puts your own stuff in perspective, hearing other people struggle as
Yeah.
well.
Well, and like you said, the shame, like that shame disconnects you from other people, and it brings even more fear into your life, which completely just makes you disassociate from others. And we're not supposed to do life by ourselves. Like we were put on this planet to help one another and to live in community. And I feel like there's so many things that people go through these days where they feel like they're going through it all by themselves. And it's because of that shame and that guilt or whatever it is that tells you like you got to seclude yourself and be alone and just struggle because nobody else will ever understand. And that's just not true.
No, and as an artist, it's those struggles that's where the art comes from.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, we even though the happy, bubbly, come on, get happy songs came from someplace, some sort of a struggle, and that's what makes the art. And fans want to know that too. They want to know where that song came from, and being an artist, talking about your struggles really helps people understand your music, and that's where those bonds start forming with your fans as well.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Do you make a point of trying to talk about your struggles more because of what you've went through, kind of like as a daily kind of affirmation?
I do. I do. I think I do like the perspective that I still am in the church. I still am a worship leader. Um, and so I try to be as transparent as I possibly can be without being like, hey, here's my whole saga. Because I mean, I think there's a balance that needs to happen too. You don't want to put your whole life out on Facebook and say, here's everything. Um, but you want to be open enough to where people don't just see this mirage. And I think social media especially has made it where people see the highlight reels of everybody's life. And so even more you start to look at your own life and think, well, why can't mine be perfect like that, or whatever. And you have to realize, like, nobody's life is perfect. Like those are
No.
highlight moments, like those are the mountaintop peaks. You aren't seeing the valleys of most people. And so I try to be transparent for that reason. Honestly, to just say, you can do it. Like, if I can do it, you can do it, most definitely.
Have you had any fans reach out to you about their own struggles after seeing you talk about yours?
I have. I've had some people reach out, just maybe they're going through depression or they just feel alone. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that you don't have to be alone. Like, that's the biggest thing I want to just say to people. And honestly, that's why I feel like I'm on this planet, is to just be a friend to those that feel like, because I think for so long that's what I struggled with. Like, especially after my grandmother passed away, I felt really alone and I didn't understand what I was feeling, because you're 10 or 11 and you don't get grief, you don't understand. And so it did feel very alone. And that's what I would find in people's lyrics and people's songs, was like this idea that, oh, somebody else feels this way. Oh, and you feel seen. And I think that that's the biggest thing. Like, people want to know that they matter. They want to know that somebody sees them. And so that's honestly, people have reached out just to talk about what they're going through. And so if I can make somebody feel seen, um, then that's, I've done my job, hopefully.
That's a really great way to look at it. But there's also always the negative side, which I hate, but there's always a negative side to it. And putting ourselves out there and wearing your heart on your sleeve opens up to a lot of ridicule, because people in this, especially in our country right now, people just love to punch down.
Oh, yeah.
It's horrible. I hate seeing it, but and it makes people hesitant to put themselves out there and talk about their struggles, which, like we just said, you have to, or you can never get over them. You
Yeah,
can't have internal struggles and keep them internal and deal with them internally. They're just
exactly.
going to stay struggles and build and make things worse. Do
Exactly.
you ever feel hesitant because of, God, if I like typing something out like, oh, that just sounds weak, or is somebody going to jump on me about that?
Yeah, it's funny that you just said weak, because I think for the longest time, my husband's a counselor, and he would talk about the fact that, because so many people who don't want to go to counseling is because they feel weak. And I think for the longest time, I didn't want to talk about things because it made me feel weak. And I wanted to be in control. I wanted, like, this perception that I had everything going right in my life. And the fact is, like, it's a mirage. It's a lie. Like, none of us have it all figured out. And I think that there's a freedom to realizing finally deep down that, like, none of us have it figured out. And it's all about this journey. And I don't know. Like, it's funny that you just said weak, though, because that was the biggest thing for me, was I never wanted to appear weak. Um, yeah.
It's something that's forced upon us, because nobody ever, I can't imagine, in good, you know faith, looks at themselves and thinks weak. It's something that was thrust upon us because we always see ourselves through the worst eyes. We never see ourselves through our partner's eyes or our children's eyes or our parents. We see ourselves through that bully on Facebook,
Yeah.
or that jerk at the store that made you mad, or that guy that flipped you off in traffic. That's who we see, whose eyes we see ourselves through.
Yeah.
And and now it is, there's always, it's such a white and black nowadays. It's either this or it's that, and nobody sees gray areas, and that's what makes us
Yeah,
is those differences. Not everybody's this or this.
right.
And I feel like coming out and talking about our struggles, it helps us bond with each other as artists. It helps bond with your fans and other artists.
Yeah.
And I mean, venues, booking agents, everything. If when you put yourself out there, people know exactly who they're dealing with. There's no question to it either.
Exactly. Yeah, one, going back to your question of like, have you ever struggled to like be vulnerable? I think this last EP that I put out lately, back in May, um, I put it out because I wanted to talk about mental health. I wanted to put that at the forefront of what I was kind of discussing and putting out there. And there's a song on there called, it's the title track. It's called Lately, and I really questioned whether to share that song or not because I wrote that in such a vulnerable place of everything had been seemingly going right in my life. Like I had won some awards and like from the outside looking in, it looked like everything was just on this upward trajectory of whatever. And the truth was I was still feeling the same insecurities. I still was like questioning everything. I was sitting at home wondering like is the next person going to call like with a booking opportunity? Like am I going to just have to like tell everybody I failed at this? Like what's happening? And so I put that all in a song and I really struggled because it's how I felt, it's what I was going through. It's very much talking about my depression because even when things are going right, if you have depression, it's still there. Like,
Mhm.
there's no reason, like, and people were like, you have no reason to be unhappy. And it's like, yeah, but it's mental health. Like,
I know. There's
I
nothing
don't
worse
want
than
to turn this off, but
there's nothing worse when you're really like everything's going great and you still
yes,
depressed because even yourself you're looking at the mirror and you're like why. So like I get it why other people look
yeah,
at us too and like what right do you have to be sad? I don't have a choice. It's
yeah.
if I
And
did.
but that was I felt like I can't put this out because it seems like I'm so ungrateful and that was a huge thing because I do want to be because I am like I'm so grateful for the opportunities that have come and for people I've met and just the chance to be able to share music and all that and I never ever want to take that for granted and I never want to take people's kindness and support for granted and it makes you feel like you are. Like it tells you a whole other story in your head of what's not necessarily true. And so I think that that's one reason I felt the need to like share that because there's so many people on this planet and especially in music that they have this internal voice that's constantly telling them a story that's just not true.
Oh, 100%. That's, I mean, yeah, I can't even add to that. But I mean, with, because like you said, I mean, especially, um, I personally, I love the kind of like the fourth wall break of a song talking about songwriting or, a book about, an author writing a book, the movie within a movie. I always like that because it gives you a different aspect on it. And having a song about the struggles you have as a songwriter I think it's brilliant, first of all. That's what fans want to see because that fans want to connect with someone that is they can connect with that is there in a world of AI art they want something real. They want real connection with real people. And having something like that, it's very profound, but it's very, I mean, it is risky for you. And what were the struggles with if you were going to put that out? Was there a time where you're like, no, I'm going to leave it off the EP?
Most definitely. Like I said, I think the biggest one was like I don't want to appear. Well, I think too. You go through this struggle of like, how vulnerable do you really want to be? Like, how much of yourself do you really want to put out there for the wolves to take, um, and for people to criticize? And
Mhm.
but I think for me, it was more of I just don't want to appear ungrateful. I don't want somebody to be like, here she is complaining, like, you know what I mean? Because I think sometimes you fear that, but the fact is, like, it's life. And no matter how well things are going, like, there's still, you don't know the struggles people have. And I think that that's really what I finally decided on was we don't know what somebody else is going through. And we can assume all day, and we can look at pictures on Facebook or wherever and think this person has everything and has it all together, and it's just not true. And
No, and more times than not, it's all for show.
yeah,
I so many times I'll see people posting, and I'm like, I know you. That is not what your life is like.
yeah.
Or you'll see the couples posting nothing but lovey-dovey, and you know they're just troubled. And you're like, that is not
You
them. I've
saw them
met
last
them.
night screaming across the bar at each other.
Yeah, exactly. And well, and like you said, though, I mean, I get the thing you don't want to come off as like unappreciative, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, even not just artists, but fans, I think everyone doesn't realize that, success, whatever that means, whether that means, fame or longevity,
Mhm.
success does not equal happiness.
Correct.
And so and people don't see that. Well, even if it does, happiness doesn't mean that doesn't get rid of depression. It sounds stupid, but it's mental health,
Yeah.
and everything can be great. And I think that's the worst trouble when you're struggling with depression is you get mad at yourself because
Yeah.
everything's going good right now, whether it's seasonal depression or just depression. You're like, then you get mad at yourself, like, why am I sad? And
Oh,
then you get mad, and then you get down on yourself even more, and you get in that hole, and you just start digging deeper
yep.
and deeper. And like you said, and everything's going great around you, so you're afraid to talk. You especially put a song out. I mean, we don't even want to tell our spouse that we're struggling
Oh, yeah.
because everything's going good. We don't want them to, because then we get worried. Oh, are they going to feel like it's their fault? Because we get overly protective of everything around us when that happens. But and then I'm sorry, losing my train of thought here.
Oh, you're fine.
But it's just it's there's such a line you have to make that jump, and like I said, I struggle with it too, so it's easier said than done, way easier said. But the more we can put ourselves out there, yes, we have to risk blowback on it, but that's where you need to find your own community too, and find those
Correct.
people. Especially I run my business from home, I work from home, I only leave the house when I have to, so most of my
Oh,
life and social is all done online. And I've been able to weed out the people that I don't want. And some of that's family and friends. I have a very small list of people that I talk to at all outside of work. And it's mainly my wife and kids and like a couple family members. I keep everything small because I know I want to surround myself with people that are going to be positive for me when I'm being negative about me,
yes.
because if you don't have those people, I couldn't imagine. I can't imagine what life would be like. And being able to find those communities online is important too.
Mhm.
Whether you're an artist or what, there's a lot of online support groups and social groups. And when you get into the music, there's so many genre specific and regional where you can find your tribe. You can find those people in your target audience,
Okay.
especially as an artist. But finding those groups where you can also be yourself
Mhm.
and talk about your struggles. Have you done much work with social communities online like Facebook groups and things like that?
Um, Not so much. I will say one of the biggest things that I think has helped me was when I started going to Nashville around about 2022, I think is when I really started taking trips over there. Getting involved in that community of songwriters. Because there are so many different diverse groups. You know, Nashville is not just country music now. Like it's
No, it used to be. In the last 5 or 10 years, Nashville is now just Music City.
yes,
It's
yes.
insane to see the change.
Yeah, and even in the country kind of groups, you've got diversity, and so I feel like I have really that's where I have found my support. That's where I have found like other people that they're going through the same thing because honestly as musicians we're emotional beings, like we have all kinds of thoughts, and there's a lot of in Nashville there's a lot of groups that focus on mental health, that they have mental health nights and all that kind of stuff, and so like those are things that I really appreciate, and where I have gravitated toward, because you find your tribe of people that you can just go sit down and write with, or you can share a song and share the vulnerability, and it's a safe place. Um, and so I have found it more with the writing community in there. But yeah, like you said, there's all kinds of things. I've met some of my biggest supporters. Well, I've never even met them. They're online, you know, and but we click, and I think that that's one of one of the very good things that has come from social media, is the fact that you aren't just stuck in your little bubble of your small town where you feel like you have no one and you don't fit in. Like, you can find people that will love you for you, and be supportive, and come alongside you. And so I think that that is one of the things that is a positive from social media. There's a lot of negatives, but that is one thing that is definitely a positive.
Well, and for artists, I've guys say this so much. It's probably damn near every episode. It's almost a cliche at this point. But if artists were good at showing their emotions, they wouldn't be artists, probably.
Correct.
That's where their feelings go. That's why, they're not a lot. The amount of people that refuse to even be on a podcast because they're not good at talking
Yeah.
about things. That's why they're on stage. That's why they write music.
Oh, yeah.
So putting it out there like that, that's what they do. But then they don't know what to do with it after that. Now, sometimes that is their therapy. They can write it down, put it out there,
Yeah.
and then move on. But if, yeah, it's like you said, finding a group of, especially like you said, singer songwriter types is always going to be good because they really put their heart and soul into their music, whatever genre it may be. So that's really great that you're able to find that, because like I said, finding artists that can talk about feelings isn't an easy thing to do.
Yeah, most definitely. And some of my best friends, I've met in the songwriting community. And it's not like it could be a range of ages and all that, but you just click. Like, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like what you were saying about everything's become black and white. Growing up, I used to think that you had to have friends that were the exact same age as you. I know that sounds weird, but and so I always gravitated toward people about 10 years older than me. And just because I felt like they knew more of what they were talking about, whether they did or not. But you know, in the songwriting community, you could have somebody who's 10 years younger, 10 years older, 20 years. It doesn't matter, because it's that mentorship kind of feel too, of we're just here together, we're doing community together, we're doing life together, and I think that's an amazing thing to find.
Well, and you can't discount someone because of their age at all.
No.
I mean, especially we're talking about struggles. We don't know what that person that 17-year-old songwriter has been through. They might have lived through more horrors and more shit than I have at almost 50 years old. So
Yes.
I always try to not discount. Well, and I've always been one too. Like, if, everyone who's a decent person, anyways, the goal is to leave the world a better place for the next generation.
All right.
Well, if we are that generation is so important to us, then why don't we listen to them more?
Yes.
And
Agree.
we don't. They get discounted a lot, and I think that's important, especially because they've been raised in the digital world. They've been raised on social media. They've got tricks and tips that we don't have. So we gotta listen to people. I mean, especially, we're talking about, struggles. Jesus, if someone's willing to listen, talk. Put
Yeah.
it out there.
Yeah. Most definitely.
All right. So, I got a question for you. When it comes with struggles and trying to put yourself out there, has there been a time that it backfired for you?
I think uh, so. When I think about that question, I think the biggest thing is you overthink what you're trying to do. That's mine. Like, I want to put it. Like I said, I'm a perfectionist, so I want to, like, wrap it up and make it pretty. And the fact is, sometimes it's not pretty. And so I think the biggest thing is I've waited too long at times to share, to where I kind of feel like this with my last EP. Like, even though I'm glad I put it out, it took so long to put out, and to make sure like all these little bits and bobs were correct, that when it got around to the marketing aspect of it and the promo aspect of it, I was done. Like, I was just like, here it is. And I look back on that now, and it's like, that wasn't fair. That wasn't fair to the person that wrote that at that moment. It's not fair to the person that needed to maybe hear some of the songs, because it's just floating out there, and I didn't really put the effort into the back end of it. And so I think that that's the biggest thing, is like, don't, it's always good to have a nice project, and a well crafted project, but don't overthink it to the point that you convince yourself that it's nothing. And I
Yeah.
think that that's what I've done so many times in my life, is I've waited so long for something to like be perfect in my eyes, that it took away some of the emotion. It took away some of just the passion. Um, and you lose, the biggest thing for me is trying to enjoy the journey of everything, where, and balance that with the striver and the goal setter in me, that's like, I set this and this and this, and then I achieve them, or I get there, and I don't even celebrate it. Like, I don't, and I see how unfair that is to not only myself, but the people that have helped me to get to that point, because I just toss it. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is just waiting way too long, and trying to have something so perfect that you lose all passion behind it too.
Well, because when you recorded it and wrote it, it was raw and it was still
Yes.
very real. And
Yes.
a lot of the time, putting it out there and getting it done, well, those feelings aren't there anymore.
Right.
So now, then you hear it and you're like, it is what it is. Even though it's great, it is perfect. But now you're over it because you got out what you needed to. But that's still, that song still needs to do what it's
Yeah.
supposed to do, which is maybe help somebody else that's struggling through the same
Yeah.
thing. But I get that. It's like, okay, I poured it all out, I'm done, and now you walk away. You're like, well, then what are you gonna do with what you just did?
Yes.
But sometimes I think that's where art is therapy for the people making it and the people appreciating it.
Yeah.
And I think there are songs out there that were only ever recorded because they needed to be put out. They need to be get out of the person.
Yes.
And some are out there because they need to be heard. And I think finding that balance
Yeah.
is important. And like you said, it is, you don't want to rush it, but you don't want to take so much time that it's no longer relevant to you, or putting so much into it that you burned yourself out and now you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because as an artist, that's not good, but also as a person, now you're back to denying those feelings again.
Yeah.
And then you're right back to where you were before you even wrote the song.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. And I think the other thing too is just, from a marketing standpoint, is not doing your due diligence on, because people feed you stuff every day. They're like, oh yeah, we can get you this, or we can do this, and the fact is, hard work is what's going to get you there. Consistency is what's going to get you there. Having moments of just like, where it feels like you're in the Sahara Desert and nothing's coming your way, like, those periods of time is what's going to get you there. Like, it's people talk about overnight success all the time, and how somebody just, randomly, and things do go viral these days. I will give people credit for that, but it's in the struggles that the hard work is built, and that perseverance is built. And I think so many times I've wanted just to like jump and get to the next place where I'm not ready to be yet. And so I think having that conversation with yourself too, of, even if I got everything tomorrow, would I appreciate it? And knowing yourself well enough to know, like, you're not ready. You're not ready for certain things. And being okay with that, being okay with the journey. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just knowing, like, what's real and what's not. And it's very hard to tell in this industry what's real and what's not because people promise all kinds of stuff. And so that's why I kind of err on doing it myself until I just can't. Because I know nobody's going to work harder for me, in my music than me. But you've got to be willing to work the hardest out of everybody with what you're doing.
Well, yeah, and you have to be happy with small victories. To
Yes.
me, my
Yes.
goal is always progress. I want to do a little more today than I did yesterday. I want to be a little further along. I never have an end goal because I'm never going to stop. It's always progress is always my goal,
Yeah.
and I think with and it's the same thing with musicians because I mean all marketing is social media at this point.
Yeah.
There's no, I mean, even if nobody's even checking websites or Linktree, it's social media, and you're like, God, I've hardly got any new followers. Like, well, remember when you first started that account? And you hit 10 followers, what that double digits felt like. Okay, well, now let's say you have, 5,000 followers, and now you have 5,010, and you're like, ugh. Well, those new 10 people aren't any less important than those
No,
first 10.
not.
Take that as a win. Any progress is always good, and that should be our goal. Maybe not as artists, but just as people, is just, I woke up today. Damn, that's cool. There's
Yeah.
a lot of people that didn't,
Another chance.
and so just try to move forward little by little. And like I said, still appreciate those little things because I mean, yeah, you hear about someone goes viral, but they could have been at it for 10 years. You don't
Well, and that's what I was
know.
going to say. Like, overnight success is not overnight. Like,
No.
I heard somebody, it was funny. I was somewhere the other day and somebody was talking about Ella Langley and how she had this one song, like, she put the first song out and she became an overnight success. And I was like, no, she didn't. Like, she had songs out way, like, years ago that didn't do anything. Like, this is not overnight, but people don't see that and people don't realize that. Like, and people forget. People forget very quickly.
Yeah, well, you'll hear like a band, their first single hits big, and it's like, okay, but those four band members have been in a total of 12 bands,
Yes.
have over 100 years experience between
Yeah.
them, have recorded 30 albums. This is just the what you know of them.
Yeah.
That's not an overnight success. Maybe for that particular group of people, but each of them have struggled to get to where they are, and people don't see that what goes into it. Yeah, like you said, even an overnight success or a viral hit is not. There was a lot to go into it.
Yeah. Most definitely.
And I think as people and as artists need to stop trying to view and compare to that. Because a lot of those viral hits and stuff like that and overnight successes had money behind them. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. If you want success, money can buy you success in the industry. They
Yeah.
can put the money into advertising, into promotion, into pushing your stuff to editorial playlists. I mean, money can do it.
Yeah.
So just remember that. Like, I mean, but also hard work will too. It's going to take a hell of a lot longer,
It
but
does.
it will get you
Yes,
there.
it
It will
will.
get you there. You got to be patient. You got to be more stubborn than patient, though. And that's one thing.
Yeah. Somebody told me a long time ago, it's all about the amount of BS you can put up with.
Oh
Because
yeah.
there's all kinds, and that's one thing that I have really, and I struggle with it daily. So hear me on that. The comparison aspect of especially like on things like TikTok and stuff, you get those trend reports, and somebody's like, "This is the next thing that's going to make you go viral." No, no, it maybe helped you, and that's great, and I'm all for that. But those viral trends and all that kind of stuff, like we're all about viral trends and trying to be overnight whatever. And again, it goes back to, even if you get it, are you going to be prepared to keep it? Are you going to be able to keep it? Like, it can get you in the room, like money can get you in the room, but it's that hard work and that perseverance that's going to give you the longevity and going to give you a platform to be able to build upon. And I think that really, with musicians, with anything that you do, like, that needs to be where your basis is coming from, is the hard work and knowing that, if you want to keep it and you want to keep building, like, you're going to have that, and you're going to have lessons learned and everything, or you're not going to be appreciative and grateful of things, and you're going to be the first bad press review or person criticizing you, or you walk in and you've got three people in the audience, like, that's going to kill you, and you're going to be like, I'm done. Like, so it's that perseverance that helps you keep going, and that's not overnight. That's not an overnight thing.
No, like you said, even if it is, you have to keep it.
Yeah.
The music industry is it's no different than professional sports.
Yeah.
You get to a certain spot and you don't just stop. You don't think an athlete, gets to pro status and stops practicing,
Yeah.
stops eating healthy, stops working out. No, they have to go even harder at a higher level as well. And it's the same with music. Those big bands that are, though, that's all they do. They're making millions. They don't just sit on their couch all day and wait to go. No, they're out there working even harder than what got them there. Well, some. I mean,
Oh,
there's some that are they don't have to. But yeah, work hard to get there. Maybe you get that viral success, but how are you going to keep it? Look
exactly.
how many bands that having turned into one hit wonders because they couldn't keep it,
Yeah.
and they had that's not even a sophomore slump. It killed
It's,
everything. And
yeah.
sometimes that can be something as simple as releasing the wrong single in the wrong order can absolutely kill an artist. And
Yeah.
if you're struggling to put your stuff out there because of what you're going through as a person, and have something like that happen, it just ends careers because people don't want to deal with it again.
Right.
And I hate to see that because amazing people put out amazing music, and that's what makes the world a better place. And there's negativity out there, and trying to stay positive is hard. And we've talked about, though, is even if you can't, that's okay. Put the negativity out there and tell people why you're feeling like that.
Yeah.
We don't have to stay positive. If you're not feeling positive, let people know. I mean, you try to stay positive, but explain to people why you're not today. Get on there, make that post and talk about that and see who it's going to touch that day. Maybe because I'm sure someone else has done that for us. So try to return that a little bit.
Exactly. Most definitely.
All right. Well, Jennifer, thank you very much for coming on today. I always love when it's a guest I'm unfamiliar with because I get to learn so much about the person as we're talking. It's always fun. I'm always a research guy. I spend too much time researching, honestly, and then it kind of ruins some of the fun. I'm trying to come into my interviews a little less prepared, if that makes sense, because it's more fun when I learn about things as I'm going. So, thank you so much for being on. It's been great.
Thank you so much
Um,
for having me.
and so, what do you have coming up?
Yeah, so I am currently in the studio working on a new EP. It's going to be called Map of Broken Hearts. I'm not real sure when I'm putting it out, sometime in May. I was going to put out a new single in January. I think I'm going to hold that. And then I have a new single coming out in March for my husband's birthday that's called My Daddy Doesn't Like You. Um, so it's a quasi love song about the fact my parents hate him. So yeah, um, that's coming out
I
in March. So I'm happy for the music that's coming, and I hope everybody will like it and check it out.
I can't wait to hear that. Oh, that hits. Oh, you got me. I can't wait to hear that one. That's going to be great. All right. Well, again, thank you very much for taking time to be on the show today. I really appreciate, and I appreciate you and all that you do. Everyone, thank Jennifer for coming on. As always, please have fun, be nice to each other, because if you're
Yeah.
not, there's no freaking point. So, everyone, please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Let me know how I'm doing, and we will see you next time.